grateful for the opportunity to be here this morning as a part of the diocesan mission appeal, cooperative mission appeal. And there's usually a collection taken up, but that's really not the main focus. The main focus is for us to think that this little diocese is a part of a missionary church. And there are members of this diocese, people we know who've grown up with us, gone to school with us, who are in Kazakhstan, in Uganda, in Ethiopia, in Ecuador, in Haiti, República Dominicana, Chile, Brazil, Peru. We're all over. I went Friday night to the football game of Notre Dame in Ashwaubenon. It was a great game, and I'm sure there are some people here who are cheering for Ashwaubenon and others for Notre Dame or Southwest. But it made me think those kids so full of energy and hope. How many of them think about spending some period of time of their life in other places, in other cultures, with the Peace Corps, with the Papal Volunteers, with the Jesuit Volunteer Corps, the Norbertine Volunteer Corps? There are many ways, and it's important for us to make our young people think about it, at least for a moment. We have right now in Green Bay a real incentive. Excuse me. Mark Green. How many of you remember a congressman from Green Bay, Mark Green? What's he doing now? He's the newly appointed head of USAID, the Aid to International Development. He spent a major part of his life in Tanzania working on health issues. We have a tradition. And we have a Congressman, Mike Gallagher, who has a distinguished Marine career, but 6 years of it, he was a liaison with local village people in Iraq. He goes to church Sunday mornings at St. Willibrord, and it's fun to talk to him. He's a man who understands and feels for human beings. So where was I? It was a great long ride. I went on a 1-year agreement with the bishop to do medicine in Peru on the Napo River, which is one of the main tributaries of the Amazon. And that 1 year lasted from 1980 to 2014. It was a great year. Living with people, 5 different ethnic groups, 5 different tribes: Quechua, Sequoia, Arabella, Witoto, Awahun. They live in small villages as they've lived for hundreds of years. And they have a sense of God's presence in the forest and in the river. They teach their kids that God gave us this tree to make canoes with. And these fish are especially good for children and for women who are pregnant and nursing. They know all of the animals in the woods. And they can't believe that we can just walk into the woods like North Americans with a chainsaw and cut a tree down without being aware that we're interrupting life that God has made. Most kids don't have toys, But from their age of very little, they're raising chickens and ducklings and puppies. And they understand that that's a part of life, to care for new life in their gardens, in the woods, in their homes. I think that's a real sense that sometimes we in the cities lose. And that's the story of that first reading from Isaiah. After the great King David, his several sons and grandsons were kings, and all of them got involved in corruption and political intrigue, and then international political intrigue, playing the Assyrians against the Egyptians, trying to build up their own political and financial status. And Isaiah says, in the words of God, I am going to take you out of that role because God is lost in it. That's a part of missionary work. The young people who come home from the Jesuit Volunteer Corps say, the Jesuit Volunteer Corps ruined my life because nothing looks the same when I came back. I have to make different decisions and set different values and plan for how to care for my family and how to help others care for their families. We heard in the gospel Jesus talking to his followers and then to Simon Peter, asking them, who do you say that I am? And Simon Peter answers using one of those phrases we know so well from Isaiah, the virgin will give birth to the Savior, the Messiah. And Jesus said to him right away, do not tell anybody that I am the Messiah. Why would he say that? He would say that because he would be identified as an enemy of the Romans, under whose control they lived, and his followers would be rabble-rousers, traitors. He had to depoliticize what he was trying to do. And I think that's what we heard from Mark Green on Friday morning. He said, the great thing about working with USAID is it's a political safe spot because we deal with people and life and goodness and health. That's really what the church's mission effort is, to show that we as believers of God, who is Father and Mother and life to all that exists, the forest and the rivers and the trees and the kids, that's how we know God. And that's our commitment. So today on this Mission Sunday, let's think about how we can refocus our own way of dealing with the young people in our lives, get them to sense that presence of God around us. And then we can truly say, Jesus is the Messiah who brought us back to know the God of creation and the God of all life.